I just want to make another, hopefully this one's short video on just really focusing and pounding this in, because those who proclaim two gospels, they do away with every word that the Messiah said, which came from the Father, gave him words to speak them, just like we read in Old Testament prophecies. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will do them and speak them. So when the Messiah says these are, my words, that's with proper discernment and dividing, knowing that they're God's words. They're not literally his words. They are his words. He said it. These are my words, but they're God's words ultimately. Just like I'm saying, these are my words that I'm speaking right now and making a video, but these are not my words. These are God's words. And this is his truth. It's not a truth I came up with or created or had in my heart, from birth. It's nonsense. God has to put it in your heart and give you the truth. It's not something that human nature, the heart that is deceitful above all things. A heart that's deceitful above all things cannot have the truth, is not born with the truth. You can't just church hop, join a religion, and, oh, I found the truth. It was as easy as falling out of a chair. That's how easy it is to. Now you have to dig for the truth. You have to search it and seek it. That's why it says it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, to hide a matter, but the glory of kings to find it out, to search it out. So that's part of the glory of doing God's will, is finding it out, searching the truth. Those who ask, they will find, they will receive. The truth will set you free, not some lie, not some two gospel division lie that Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, all of it, and Revelations for a lot of these people, like Martin Zender says. All of that is done away completely. We are Paul's words. We are of Paul, just like he said. Didn't he say, you are saying, I'm of Paul, I'm of Apollos. That's why he said that. There's only one shepherd, and that's the Messiah. Knowing that the Father and the Messiah are one. So to say the Messiah, to say God, it's the same, because they're of the same spirit, the same mind. And someone that believes are also one with the Father and the Son. They are also a son. One and the same spirit, truth, one body, one church, one ecclesia. There's not multiple ones. Not actually. You're either in it or you're not in it. You're either Antichrist or Christ. That's it. And I want to make that point, that the whole point of two gospels, the whole point of this Antichrist teaching, is to do away with all the words of the Messiah and all the disciples inspired by the one true God that wrote those down for our understanding, our admonition. All of it's done away. Only Paul's letters are for us today, and that's what we do. Paul said, we establish the law. Read it. Google it, Zender and Zender's disciples that he's gathered unto himself. And tell me why you never bring that up, along with many other things he said, and doing good works and works of love. And those who do all these things, fornication, drunkenness, the sin of unbelief, all these other things, big list, more than once. Don't you know these won't be in the kingdom? They won't inherit it. Don't you know, Zender, and all you followers of Zender, that if you do these things, you won't inherit the kingdom? So how is it by faith alone? It's by works. If you have true faith, you will do God's works, and you won't do all those things that are called sin. You will overcome them. Oh, but Revelations and overcomers, that's for Jews. So we don't have to overcome anything. Can't you see it? Can't you see how deceptive this is? How it does away with all the words, like those who do the will of my Father. Messiah said. Those are the ones likened to a wise man that built his house on a rock. Many will say, Lord, Lord. Why? Why call me Lord if you don't do the things I say, the things I tell you? Keep my commandments, which are God's commandments. Those who keep them will have life and the Spirit of God continuing to dwell in them. Not those who don't keep them. You can't mock God. You'll go into spiritual death and delusion if you don't do God's will and seek to do his will. It's that simple, over and over again. Open any book in the Bible, and it's about doing God's will, not about, I believe to a set of doctrines. I believe a certain set of words. I believe I'm chosen. I believe that God will save all, and this is what makes me saved. You're delusional if you believe that. You can have all the knowledge. You can have a lot of knowledge and still be a totally delusional sinner, a control freak, ruling over people like people want to do in the church system. That's a sin, to rule over someone, to have a lust to control them. My sheep hear my voice. They follow me. They don't know any stranger. So why are you following a stranger? Because you don't follow the good shepherd. That's why. You don't hear his voice. But you do all of that. Just throw it all away. All of you who believe in two gospels specifically right now, you throw all of that away. Every word. Pick up your cross, pick up your stake, and follow me. Someone who does not do that is not worthy of me. Does that make you angry? Does that offend you? Does that bring up that prideful, self-righteous nature in you? It should, if you're still yet carnal. It will. They speak smooth words. Isaiah prophesied smooth words that people want to hear. Sounds good, sounds right, like it could be true, like it could be right. And the true prophet of God speaks words that burn people, puts a fire over their heads, a heap of coals over their heads, burns them. God's truth burns people. It discerns the hearts of men, sharper than any two-edged sword, discerning the hearts of men, cutting between bone and marrow, like we read. You're going to hate it. All you two gospel worshipers will hate this. Following some man, just like all the Israelites always wanted to follow some man, have a king instead of God ruling over them in their hearts. They want, please give us a king, give us a disciple, or give us an elder, give us a minister, give us a king, give us a Martin Zender to follow, and he'll speak to us smooth words. It is not a hard way, this narrow way, that few enter and few find. It's easy as saying 1, 2, 3. I believe that God is the Savior of all, therefore I'm saved. Yesterday, I hated my neighbor in my heart, pretended to like him, but I'm saved. If you're not overcoming that, then you have no part in him. You won't be in the kingdom. Don't be fooled. Don't be deceived. The Messiah told his disciples, first thing he said, what was it on the Mount of Olives? Don't be deceived. For there are many false prophets, many false Christs that claim to be of the truth, of Christ. There's many of those. There's only a few true ones. You'll find out how few it really is that have true teaching and that actually care and teach to do God's will. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the laws condensed into that. And that consists of all kinds of things. That's not an easy path. That's not an easy way. It's a hard way. It was not easy carrying the stake while everybody was mocking him and making fun of him, while they beat him, whipped him, put thorns on his head. You think this way is easy? That's what that picture represents. This is not an easy way to life. The crucifixion of your flesh, the death of who and what you are, your flesh, the old man, dying daily, putting into the grave. This is not some easy way or easy path. If you hear smooth words and it sounds good and easy, you better question it. because not all spirits are of the truth. Question and test every spirit, including Martin Zender and all his followers and anyone else who preaches two gospels or one saved, always saved. Test the spirits to see if they're true. How will you do that if you don't actually do it? How will you know if you don't believe that that's what you're supposed to do? That if you throw Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John right out in the garbage and burn it, just like Martin Luther wanted to burn the book of James because it was too open, too clear. Faith without works is dead. Let's burn that book in my own translation. I don't want that in there. And I don't really want Revelations in there. I don't believe that's the truth either. Yeah, that's Martin Luther, you Lutherans and anyone that loves Martin Luther, all you Protestants. Calvin burned someone on a stake, at least one person, probably more. I don't know. Burned him alive on a stake. That's evil. That's evil, man. That's not the spirit of Christ. That's the spirit of Antichrist. Why? Because that person had disagreement with Calvin's doctrine. Uh-oh. Do you want to burn me? Do you hate me because I tell you the truth? You think only Paul could speak like that? I could speak like that. Do you condemn me and hate me because I tell you the truth now? That you have to do God's will? That you can't be ruled over by any man? And that you cannot rule over any man? No, very few people would like to hear these words. Only those who have the Spirit of God working in them could hear these words and actually like them. Be glad to hear someone else is saying them in a world of lies and confusion, in a world of do whatever you want. It's easy. It's an easy path. I don't have to do the will of the Father because that's for the Jews. Unbelievable. Not only do you call God a racist, those circumcised because their literal penis is circumcised, those people have to endure to the end and do the will of the Father and keep my commandments. They don't know the difference between the law and having the law in your heart. Excuse me, and having the law in your heart. They don't know the difference. It's a higher calling than keeping the law in stone. It's not even lusting after a person. It's not even having thoughts of hatred in your heart, let alone stabbing someone. It's a higher calling than just keeping a law in stone. That's what God gives you. The Spirit of God works in you, and you do God's good works, and you keep the law, the spiritual law, because the law is spiritual. And that last commandment, don't covet your neighbor. Do not covet. Thou shalt not covet. That law was spiritual. One law that you had to keep that was spiritual, which means all of the law was spiritual. But someone could covet someone. Some Israelite could covet someone, but who's going to prove it? All they're going to do is lie. See, that's a spiritual issue. No, I didn't. That's not who I am. That's why they can hide in the dark. That's why men love darkness. They can pretend to keep the law in stone and be righteous and look good in front of others, but they break all the commandments. And if they break one, they break all of them, because the law is spiritual, and the same God that gave this commandment also gave this commandment. You break one of his laws, you break them all automatically. And people do break them all spiritually. That's why it's a spiritual warfare. That's why you can easily be deceived if you don't have the Spirit of God working in you, because anyone can smile and wave. A serial killer can smile and wave and pick up a kid in his arms and smile and say, wow, nice kid, and have a nice day. You guys seem nice. And then he goes off to kill people. That's what religious people do spiritually. Don't be deceived by somebody that's constantly smiling. Look how good I am. I'm always smiling. See, I'm smiling. I'm so good. You need to smile more, Ryan. You need to smile. He doesn't smile. He doesn't talk a lot. I think something's wrong with him. I think he's a serial killer.